For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Yes, here we go. Follow the money. Paulie and JVT. Mitch out. Back tomorrow. Huge show coming up. Live from Circa downtown, Sirius XM channel 158. We'll get to the NHL playoffs in 10 minutes. We'll talk to Greg Wyshynski, senior writer, NHL.com, ESPN.com, NHL senior writer. Mahoney live from Madison Square Garden. Knicks and Pistons tonight. 2 games in the NBA, 4 in the NHL. NFL draft, in-pocket plays. I don't want to overreact. A lot to get to coming up. JVT, how you doing? I would say also, how you doing, but also a disappointing weekend to the start of the NBA playoffs. We only had one close game.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer. None of the games were really that tight. I guess Cavs Heat was okay. Like the Heat were within 7 pretty much the entire way, and then let go of the rope at the end. But we'll see. We'll see if maybe these things can get a little bit better outside of the rematch or Game 2 that we'll see tonight between Clippers and Nuggets. It was a somewhat ho-hum weekend if you were really locked in like I was. So let's go. Come on. We're going to get back into this.
Yep, under 6-2. And you had the T-Wolves blow out the Lakers. And then on the flip side, NHL, nothing but favorites, as every favorite has won and covered the puck line. So this opened as high as Denver minus 150 with the series price. Then it flipped. And Game 2 flipped as well. Denver opened the favorite. Now the Clippers are laying 1 on the road. Huge Game 2 for several reasons. Number one, the adjusted series price. Nuggets are minus $1.30. They haven't lost since they whacked Malone, but I think we see it the same way. The Clippers blew Game 1. They had a 15-point lead. The officials got involved in the second quarter. They got a tough whistle in the second quarter. Harden was in foul trouble. I thought 2 ridiculous calls against Kawhi. But then, silly fouls, got out hustled, second chance points, and some lazy defense as well. And the Nuggets come all the way back to steal it, and going back to some lazy plays as well. They're up 1 with the ball with 30 seconds, and then Kawhi turns it over. Yep. And then Westbrook hits the big 3 as well. So you get that type of game from Harden. Porter does nothing. He's benched for Westbrook, and you still lose the game.
So I would agree with everything you said about this and what we're going to look at. For Kawhi, I think it's going to be pretty interesting because it had been pointed out, I'm going to get the exact date at some point, but it had been pointed out on social media, this is the first game, up at altitude for Kawhi since like 2021. And you kind of saw it play out. He didn't close out the first half for them, looked gassed, didn't really perform particularly well. Like you said, just a lazy kind of turnover at the end of that game when you're in a position to potentially clinch the contest against them. So I think that they're going to be a little bit better. Kawhi's going to be better. But you hit on something that stuck out to me, which was the way I framed it. Denver looked like a team that had won playoff games before, that had won playoff series. They were scrapping for every loose ball. It seemed like 50-50 balls, 100% of them went to the Denver Nuggets. The 9 offensive rebounds between both Aaron Gordon and Russell Westbrook was absolutely insane. Yep. But it goes back to, again, the Clippers were doing almost everything the right way, despite the fact that they had an offensive rebounding rate that was as high as it was, 32.7%. In terms of actually like points per missed shot attempt, Denver's metric in the game in Game 1 actually would have ranked to the 4th percentile. So, they weren't really still that great even at second chance opportunities. The Clippers were playing somewhat well throughout this entire game, but they've got to be better, and they've got to keep doing what they were doing. If you remember in the first half, they were using those high pick and rolls of Zubac. They went away from that in the second half. They weren't really using them that much. Yep. It's a big reason why Harden got off to the start that he did. You would think that they look at those issues and fix them here in this spot. The question is just, do you buy at the top of the market and lay a number, which was 2.5 at close in Game 1?
Mm-hmm. And it's priced in kind of like must-win territory, too, which I won't go that far. But it's Zubac missed easy bunnies. You got the gift where Joker misses 2. When does he miss 2 free throws?
2 big free throws.
Down the stretch, right? Yep. And then he's open for a reason, wide open. But Westbrook hits the big 3 and puts him ahead. And then he got the steal and the deflection late that went out of bounds when they were up 3 as well. It was just a game you can't lose, though. You can't lose a game like that when you're going to steal Game 1 And the fact that Denver, who doesn't have a bench, they had more bench points than the Clippers, which I couldn't believe. So a lot of these guys have to do a better job. But one thing, a lot of things here about Kawhi. So the last 2 years, he hasn't been able to finish a first-round series. But since the break, averaging 25 a game, and his prop is 24.5 tonight with points. He's shooting 52%. He's shooting 44% from three. So it's been old Kawhi here, and a big reason why they closed 19-3 in the regular season. But with the top 5 offense against the top 5 defense and how well they played, and then the other knock was, well, I don't know what I'm going to get out of Harden. Well, he's been horrible with his postseason failures, right? Yep. So, again, I get that type of game from Harden. I'm up 15, and I still blow the game.
I think, actually, Harden's going to be a guy to potentially play on these point total props throughout this series. They don't have anybody for him. Mm-hmm. Christian Brown's like your best option, and he doesn't have the size to actually match up with him physically. And then there's nobody else that you really trust on ball that you're going to be able to shut down Harden. It's a big reason why he had 32 points. There was nobody that they could use against him. If you're the Nuggets, at least you have Aaron Gordon to put on Kawhi and feel somewhat comfortable in one-on-one scenarios. But there's not really anybody you're putting on Harden that's going to make you feel comfortable. When you talk about some of these pick and rolls, again, going back to what they need to do, I mean, you're talking about putting Jokic and Christian Brown in a pick and roll defensively. Like, that's a matchup that should work in your favor and Harden should thrive on. I think you should have a pretty strong series here, regardless of the postseason failures and clutch time issues, which, by the way, he was pretty clutch throughout that game. Like, even in big moments, he was hitting shots.
Yeah.
And so I think that this could be a good series for Harden. But you mentioned the two key things. First off, Kawhi. Can he score? Can he be more effective? Only 22 points. The other is, like you said, the bench was not great. Batum hit some wild threes to keep him into that game, and that was really good.
Got some Ben Simmons minutes.
Yep, but Simmons was he's nothing on offense. He's not looking to score. He took one shot attempt, and every time they put Bogdan Bogdanovic out there on the floor, it was bullseye. We're going right at you on defense. Every single possession he was on the floor, it seemed like Denver went after him defensively, and it worked out really well for him. So the bench has to be a lot better, especially getting some sort of offensive production, because you got nothing for him.
How about Joker props? And this is great. You can bet most points, rebounds, and assists every game and every series. But again, is Zubac going to do a better job on Joker? And do you think he's just going to put up ridiculous numbers as well? And I don't know what. Porter's 12.5 tonight. I mean, maybe he stays in the doghouse and they don't play him that much.
I mean, maybe for one more game. Westbrook had 34 minutes to his 26. They closed the game out with him. He obviously, like you said, he hit the corner three to really put this thing over for him and help force overtime. But yeah, like I would, unless you see a change in terms of the way that they're doing things, I would not be surprised if Westbrook earns more minutes again than Michael Porter here. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go under his point total prop, but I still think it's a possibility, because Westbrook, I think, is one of those guys that you're going to use until it blows up in your face. And look, the Clippers benefited from it. Remember, 2 years ago when they went to Phoenix and they won that game one. Kawhi was great, but also Westbrook was fantastic in that series for the Clippers 2 years ago when they played him. So,
but how would it go? You're right. But how did it go last year?
You know, of course, and then last year was great.
I mean, people giving him all his flowers. He was 5 of 14.
Oh, he was all over the place. He took a ridiculous shot late when he shouldn't have. Yes, he took ridiculous. So, like, you got to live and die with whatever Westbrook gives you. But in terms of the dynamic between him and Porter, like that's going to be one too where, you know, like there's some player prop matchups you can find out there. It'd be interesting to see if they would ever hang a Russell Westbrook versus Michael Porter matchup, because that would be interesting to see points wise. I think Westbrook is going to be the performer until you see otherwise. He's also what he helps with too is he is a more aggressive rebounder than Porter Jr. is. Yeah, I mean, he grabbed 4 offensive rebounds. He's going to give you second chance opportunities.
That's right. Yep. That's the second game at 7 Pacific. The early game is Detroit and the Knicks. You can read GoUpVSiN.com. Von Tobel previewed every Eastern Conference series, and you went over 5.5 total games in this one. That's a tough beat. Detroit is up 8 in the fourth quarter, getting 7, and then here comes the 21-0 Knicks run where everything was going in. Payne's hitting threes, the Garden's rocking, Brunson gets the and one. Nothing went right for the Pistons, and the Knicks win and cover. And now the adjusted series price is high as $7 on the Knicks. They're laying 6.5 and 220 the total. Is it just going to be the lights are too bright and this team doesn't have enough experience? Or is it, hey, they can hang in here and more of not so much the 21-0 run, but it's more of the team that led by 8 in the fourth quarter? How do you see it?
I mean, I think you still have some experience here, right? Like Tobias Harris is here, Malik Beasley.
Well, you won't get that again.
Yeah,
22
points, 7 to 12 overall in the game. but you have Malik Beasley, you have Tim Hardaway Jr. Like, you've got guys who at least played for a while. Now, a good part of the rotation, your point, though, is the first-timers, included Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, so, like, Jalen Duren. These are not guys who have played in the postseason. But, like, Paul, they were in that game the entire way until that 21-0 run, and those were a lot of bad mistakes. They had a turnover rate of nearly 30% in the fourth quarter against them, and it was boneheaded turnovers. How about the 5-second violation to start the fourth quarter?
Incredible.
Missed shots. I think Asar Thompson at one point missed a dunk or whatever it was in that quarter, too. Like, they should still be competitive, and I still don't trust this Knicks team defensively. Like, they're still middle of the pack with their half-court defense. They don't really have, like, a true match for Cade Cunningham. OG Anunoby's, like, the best option for them, but Cade especially in the second half, 8 against them. Like, they were in that whole way until that 21-0 run. I would trust that the Pistons team that stayed inside of this number for a vast majority of that contest still shows up today, and they're live to stay inside of the number.
I thought $4 was outrageous.
Yeah. At the beginning of the before?
Yeah.
I would agree. I have a small play on them to win the series. So I thought number-wise it was worth the play. It's why I bet over 5.5 games, too. I think it's going to be competitive. And like you talk about, like, a tough one to take. I mean, if they take game one, I'm sitting great with a over 5.5 games, feeling relatively good about how that thing's going to go down. But that was a tough one for Detroit. They got the shooting, though, man.
Yep. I would look at Beasley props over and threes as well. And you wrote in the preview about how well Cade had played against him. He did not play well in game one, but he did well against the Knicks in the regular season, averaging 38 and 5. His prop is points prop is 27.5 tonight, that he can go over and bounce back, and he averaged 26, 6 and 9 on the regular season. But I'm with you that I don't trust the Knicks defense either. But the others were great, and you didn't get much out of Bridges. Cat was energized.
Well, I was going to say, Cat,
well.
I think you're actually looking at over 1.5 threes for Cat, too. That was one of the things that I thought, like a 12-1 to lead the series in three-point makes. That's not going to happen because Beasley hit 6 the other day. But he is capable of hitting more than just one three-point shot, especially the way they're playing him on defense.
Deep dive in all the props coming up later in the show as well. 4 games tonight, NHL playoffs. Again, favorites 5-0 so far, and they've covered the puck line in every game. Some numbers on the LA Kings and Hellebuck that you won't believe coming up next on Follow the Money, VSiN, Sirius XM Channel 158.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Win-lose coming up in 10 minutes. Some vicious beats over the weekend. And Greg Wyshynski, ESPN.com, to talk NHL playoffs as well. Also go out to the Garden in an hour, talk to Brian Mahoney after the Garden was on fire as the Knicks win Game 1, Game 2 tonight coming up against the Pistons. A lot of people had their feelings and their wallet hurt by what transpired on the pregame show yesterday on TNT, where they announced the finalists for all the NBA awards.
Yeah.
Were you, livid, outraged, pissed? Did you expect this? Dort, not even a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. I love what Hartenstein said after the game last night. Apparently, we have to get a podcast.
So that's the thing. I'm more shocked, and this was pointed out yesterday by many people, including Tom Haberstroh, who pointed out, let me get the exact wording of it. OKC went 68-14 with the largest point margin in NBA history. They had one finalist for the awards markets.
Yes, well said.
Right? And it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah. It's amazing watching that and seeing all of these names and not seeing more than just one OKC player. And to me, that's where I kind of was a little indignant. There were guys like Lou Dort and others that were deserving of more recognition for their awards. And the fact that the voters could not do enough to actually get some of these guys on there, I think is pretty shocking, to say the least. I'll say this every year. It's the same thing I do with MLB TV, but I buy it every year anyway, which is I'm not doing this again, right? Like I'm not betting the awards.
Out
right. I'm not buying it. And every year I'm like, I'm done betting these awards. It's so stupid. They never have any idea. It's never exactly what the award is. And I'm sure I'll say it again next year when I get burned. But I was surprised at some of the finalists, including the fact that only Shea was the lone Thunder that got some recognition.
Yeah. And I'm repeating myself, but again, last year you gave it to Gobert because he was on the best defensive team by a mile, even though Wemby was the better player. And if you want to talk about intimidation, and I saw several game after game, guys would turn down 2-on-1 breaks because of the intimidation factor. They didn't want to go against him. And they gave it to Gobert. So here you have this elite team defensively and so many studs, and you can't even get them to be a finalist. And it's Daniels, Green, and Mobley. And then Mobley, Mitch is right. Mobley gets played off the floor when they play the Celtics. Zubac, actually, Tim Bontemps, ESPN.com, voted for Zubac. He's not even a finalist either.
Yeah.
And he was getting some support.
I mean, that surprised to me. I thought Zubac was actually going to make the finalist, and I didn't think that many people were going to have enough for Dyson Daniels that he would make the final three. Because, again, you talk about best player, best defensive team. Dude, he's been their backstop all year long. They're one of the best defenses in the NBA, and it's in large part due to him as a rim protector, the ability to stay on the floor, his rebounding. I was surprised that he was there, or he was not there for Defensive Player of the Year, but he was there for Most Improved Player. And, in fact, Dyson Daniels was a finalist for 2 awards. So I'm curious to see if he wins what he wins here, because he's a finalist for Most Improved and for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
Sixth Man of the Year was kind of surprising to me.
I think it should. Okay, how so? I think Beasley should win the award.
I think
even though the odds. What?
I think he should too.
Yeah,
that's going to be curious to see if he's going to be able to take this thing home. The third place was I was going to see who was going to come in at third. Ty Jerome had done a pretty good job all year long, so I'm assuming he's the heavy favorite to finish third. And it's just whether or not Malik Beasley gets enough here to usurp Peyton Pritchard for an award that I think many people chalked up as his really early in the year.
How about MVP? I know 3 people who've said they voted for Joker.
I know. I think
in the 60, 10, and 10 game, put him over the top.
I think he's got a chance.
I think he does too. I think the odds are wrong.
Yeah, I think too. We're wrapped up in the final straw poll, which the votes were submitted for the final straw poll prior to the game that you're referencing. The other point that should be made is, remember, the straw poll does not include. It is not the voters. It is not all of the voters. Some of the people included in the straw poll do not have a vote. I don't know the degree or the number of voters who don't. So it is a somewhat accurate representation of how the award's going to shake out. It's never been wrong. But I will say to the degree to which maybe this is in favor of Shea, I think is not as strong as many believe it to be. And I do think there's a lot of people out there. There's been some that have vocalized it. I think like Bill Simmons was one that said, like, I'm leaning. I'm going to the Jokic season. So
he did.
We'll see.
He's on record.
Yep.
So was Russillo as well. How about Coach of the Year? Is it Atkinson or Bickerstaff? Detroit first. It's hilarious because they fired Bickerstaff and they brought in Atkinson. Then they get the 1 seed, but Detroit's the first team in NBA history to triple their win total from the previous year.
I mean, I don't know. So both of those guys obviously deserve it. They're finalists. Actually, when I saw Udoka, and I've got Udoka at like 450 to win Coach of the Year, I maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way because I have this ticket. He solidly won the 2 seed in a conference that is littered with parity and a bunch of teams who people keep pointing to as the best teams in the NBA, not named the Houston Rockets. And yet there was one other constant in the Western Conference outside of Oklahoma City, and it was Houston. Udoka's did a great job. He's also did a great job in terms of developing his own young talent. Amen Thompson's part of
awesome.
Amen Thompson's great, and Ime Udoka deserves credit for being able to develop him as well, using Alperen Sengun and getting the most out of Steven Adams and this group as well. I think deserves a ton of credit. So maybe JB Bickerstaff wins it enough that, hey, this team lost 28 straight games last year, and they were solidly inside of the top 6, didn't have to fight through a play-in or anything like that. It clinched it relatively deep into the season with no worries about getting into the play-in. But I do think that a guy like Ime Udoka, I mean, this Coach of the Year, who knows? It might be the same for Defensive Player of the Year where some of these second or third place votes decided.
Could be. Okay. So I think Beasley should win 6th Man of the Year. I think the odds are wrong. I think Joker's got a chance, and the odds are off for MVP. How about Most Improved? I bet Cade, but I don't think you can win this award if you're on a max contract. I agree with Windhorst.
Right.
And I think it's good. And then Daniels, there was a big move on Daniels when Cade got hurt as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, these voters do it all the time. We saw John Morant win Most Improved Player in his career.
Right?
Yeah, like I hate this award because I never really. You can make a case, I think, for so many. For example, my Most Improved guy is not even a finalist. Christian Brown was wildly improved this year. He was asked to take over a starting spot for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's obviously not going to win the award, but that's the whole thing is, how do these voters view improvement? Because I think you can make a strong argument for a lot of different guys to win this award, and yet they're not going to be finalists. I gravitate with this award toward Cade Cunningham only because I think some of these voters are simpletons. And they're going to look at just, hey, Cade, now he's an all-star type player. Okay. We're just going to give it to him. Okay.
How do you think it'll shake out with? And I echo your sentiments, what you said too. And you just can't bet this stuff anymore, especially if Draymond wins Defensive Player of the Year. Do you think that the politicking will help or hurt him?
I think it's going to hurt. It's going to help him. Go back. Was it 3 years ago now? I will still say to this day, Marcus Smart's Defensive Player of the Year, one of the most ridiculous Defensive Player of the Year awards I've ever seen.
All right.
Because what happened was Robert Williams got hurt, and all these voters panicked, and they didn't know who to give it to.
And then Simmons did a podcast.
And they did a podcast, and remember, Bontemps also wrote a piece about the perimeter defender never winning Defensive Player of the Year, and he quotes Marcus Smart in there about winning the award. And so everybody, because they're mouth breathers, like, well, we'll vote for him because we got to give it to a Celtic. It was absolutely ridiculous. The politicking totally helps in this regard. Now, I will say I was surprised because you do have people like Kendrick Perkins who have votes who weeks ago openly said on Twitter, I'm voting for Draymond Green for Defensive Player of the Year, and then released his ballot and he had voted for Lou Dort. So maybe there's going to be some who don't buy this whole thing with Draymond Green. I think it's going to be pretty tight. This, among all of them, very much screams, dude, if you have like more third place votes than second from the other guy, you might be able to snag this thing. So I don't know. I think it's going to be really tight.
All right. And I Joker to me has to be Clutch Player of the Year too. And Brunson was like $5.
Yeah, I think they're probably.
Who's been more clutch than Joker?
So here's the thing: is do the voters take the tact of, well, I'm not going to vote Jokic for MVP, but I got to give him something. So we're going to give him Clutch Player of the Year, to your point, and then give him the award because it's almost like a runner-up. Here's your award because you had a historic year, but I didn't give you MVP. Could be the case. Clutch numbers are very good for him.
That's
too.
Not bad. Yeah, that's not a bad angle.
I'm with you though. Going back to MVP, I think my man's got a shot.
Sure he does. Absolutely. And that's not just that you got 3 people on record saying they're voting for him.
Yeah. He's having a career. I keep saying it. He's having a career year as a 3-time MVP.
Well, how about the on-off numbers?
It's insane.
That's the selling point.
Of course.
We're all-time good, or we're the worst in the league when I'm on the bench.
There's not a competition.
That's right. Oh, that's so good.
Under a playoff team without Shea.
That's one of the most incredible stats I've ever seen or heard. But with that, they're the number 1 offense in history. When you're on the bench, they're the worst team in the league. Come on. Want to bet smarter, not louder? Check out the Sharp Plays, sharpplays.com, where real bettors go to get ahead. He's been with us since day one on VSiN and Follow the Money. Since 2011, locked in with what the real pros are betting. Elite group, sharp money, and the kind that actually moves the markets. When the sharp play jumps on a side, the line reacts. With insider info and powerful AI tools, you're not guessing, you're getting ahead. Sign up for free betting reports, real-time alerts, and next-level intel via email or on X. Lead it. Don't follow the crowd. Sharpplays.com. Respected, watched, and feared. That's the Sharp Plays. Sharpplays.com. Great to have him aboard, and we know him since the early days. You know, he's phenomenal. He started Mr. Poison and all the great numbers that he's always had going back since 2011. Up next, we'll get to win some, lose some, and we'll kick back and forth some NFL draft props, and if we know the first 5 picks. And Circa did a great job putting a lot of stuff up, and there's been significant movement as well, which we'll get to. And then Wyshynski at 2 o'clock Pacific, Mahoney coming up later in the show as well, and some vicious beats over the weekend. All that coming up straight ahead. Live downtown Circa. CircaLasVegas.com. Follow the money. VSiN.com. SiriusXM Channel 158.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Back on Follow the Money. Mitch back tomorrow. Paulie and JVT. Let's go out to the Progressive Guest Line and talk to Greg Wyshynski. Covers the NHL for ESPN.com. Their senior NHL writer. Excellent job with his playoff preview. The mega playoff preview that's up there. And check that out with all his picks. And he joins us now. Follow him on X as well. Great to talk to you, sir. Did anything happen in the first couple days that made you change your mind on a pick or a future?
Well, I mean, I stayed on Dallas because I picked them before the season. But if they don't get Miro Heiskanen, their top defenseman, back by at least Game 3 in this series, their goose might be cooked. I mean, Colorado looked really, really good. The Stars are down both Heiskanen and Jason Robertson at this point in the series. Mm-hmm. This Game 2 is going to really determine a lot about where we're going between Colorado and Dallas. And I do think that the Stars, do have enough depth where if Jake Ottinger can steal in the game, they could win. But my faith in them is shaken a little bit. On the flip side, I was really, really impressed with Winnipeg pulling out the Game 1 win against St. Louis on home ice. They did not get a very good game from Connor Hellebuck, their star goalie, but they were still able to find a way to get the victory there. And that's a team that with a Game 1 loss at home to a fairly hot St. Louis team at the end of the season, you could almost see the series going the way the previous 2 playoff series for Winnipeg went, where they lost in 5.
Yes. Echo your thoughts on what happened with Winnipeg as well. So how many do you think there's a lot of similarities to 2010 with Washington and Montreal getting underway tonight?
On paper, there are, right down to the fact that in 2010, when Montreal upset Washington, they had a hot, young, dynamic rookie join their team late in the season. In 2010, it was PK Subban, and now in 2025, it's Ivan Demidov, who's comes over from the KHL and has sort of ignited the fan base with how exciting he plays. They've got the formula for an upset. I mean, they've got dynamic young players. They've got the inexperience, I think, works in their favor in the sense of like they're too young and dumb to know about playoff pressure. They come in having to play playoff games down the stretch while Washington's been in cruise control for about a month and a half. That said, what they don't have is defense. And, that's sort of the determining factor in this series for me. I think Washington's going to be able to put some goals on the board. I think they've got more depth than Montreal. And Montreal was, I think, 28th or 29th in the league since the Four Nations tournament in expected goals against at 5-on-5. So their fundamental defense is not very good. And I think Washington is going to be able to make short work of them. I have them winning in 5 games.
Kings are $1.30 favorite tonight at home. It's a pick'em series against Edmonton. Should they be getting more respect? Should they be favored to win this series?
No. The whole basis of the King of people back in the Kings is this notion of like you can't beat a team 4 times. Ask the Buffalo Bills about a team beating you 4 times. I mean, like, and the difference between that and this is that Edmonton has 2 Patrick Mahomeses and Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. McDavid in the 17 or 18 games that they've played against the Kings over the last 3 postseasons, McDavid is averaging 2 points per game. Leon Draisaitl has like 16 goals in 17 games against the Kings. Like, these guys just hand Los Angeles their lunch when they meet in the postseason. That's not to say that Edmonton is good. I think Edmonton is not very good. That, compared to what they were last season, they're probably going to leave the playoffs in the second round. But I do think they're getting to the second round because Draisaitl and McDavid are not going to even flinch seeing the Los Angeles Kings jerseys on the other side of the ice.
Wow, you're strong on that. Okay. All good points, but how about that it's different with the home ice and Kemper and what they do defensively?
The home ice is big for the Kings only because of how well they've played there this season. And I would agree that Darcy Kemper gives them a level of competence in goal that they might not have had in previous matchups against Edmonton. But again, like I don't have faith in the Edmonton goaltending. I don't have faith in the Edmonton being healthy at this point in the season. Obviously, they're not going to have Matthias Ekholm for this series. But I dropped to my knees and clasped my hands together with the faith that I have in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to drag this version of the Oilers to at least one playoff series victory.
I like it. You got to drop your knees in the middle of the CVS, though, I think is the rest of that line. All right, how about tomorrow? We're going to get Tkachuk on the ice to skate Tuesday morning. How much should this swing if he can go for Florida?
I mean, I fully expect he's going to go. I mean, I think there's been enough time for him to rehab. I think all the extra time built into the schedule to delay the beginning of this series. I mean, I'd be surprised if he doesn't, answer the bell for game 1. The intrigue in this series, though, is we haven't really seen this incarnation of the Panthers play together. I mean, Tkachuk's been out since Four Nations. He's never been on a line with Brad Marchand yet. The expectation is they're going to play with Sam Bennett. This Panthers team hasn't really been together. I mean, they're still not. We're not going to see Aaron Ekblad in this series until Game 3 because of his suspension. Meanwhile, the Lightning look like the Lightning again. I mean, they got Ryan McDonagh and Yanni Gourde back, so aesthetically they look like the team that won back-to-back cups. But both those guys can still go. They've got depth. They obviously in their top 6 have incredible scoring. They're going to have, this is their first playoff series with Jake Gensel, who is, put on a pedestal as one of the best postseason players we've had in the last 10 years in the league. And Andrei Vasilevsky looks like himself again. So, I mean, it's all really kind of pointing in the Lightning's favor. And I've been surprised by how many people agree with me that they could be a team to beat in these playoffs, especially considering they're playing the reigning Stanley Cup champions in the first round.
Yeah. So you love this series. And then you like Tampa to win. You also think Tampa goes to the Cup?
I think they have the potential to win the East. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. How about the concerns in goaltending with Carolina and Colorado? Real or not real?
In Carolina's case, real. In Colorado's case, not real. I think Mackenzie Blackwood is really good. And the lack of playoff experience was a concern, but then you look at him this in that Game 1, and all of a sudden you realize that the nuking their goaltending was the right thing to do this year, and they found somebody they really like in Blackwood.
Okay, so if you have to change your Dallas pick, which you made before the season, who would you then pick to come out of the West if you change your Dallas pick?
I would probably pick Colorado. I think the winner of that series could play for the Cup.
And okay, Dennis Bernstein said the same thing. Interesting.
Greg, I'm curious. Last night we watched Vegas Golden Knights in a hard-fought game against Minnesota that was not as close as the final score indicates, considering a ridiculous goal at the end. But that regular season series was pretty slanted in the Knights' direction. But watching that last night, it looks like the Wild were giving them a pretty good fight. Did we see anything that would maybe make us think Minnesota is going to make this a tougher-fought series than most expected?
No, I thought their big players came to play last night. Kaprizov and Boldy. That's to be expected, but I texted somebody that knows the Wild pretty well the other day, and I asked him, is there a chance for an upset here? Because I was looking for an upset in these playoffs because it's a little bit chalky in the first round,
right?
And the response was LOL. So I mean, I hesitate to say that Minnesota is going to make this a series. Maybe they can grab a game when the action moves back to Minnie, but the Knights are a cut above, and you just saw last night, when they get everybody back and healthy, and they've got a lot of guys that have tons of playoff experience and can really flex on you.
Yeah. It's strange how it started out, right? Favorites are 5-0. They've covered the puck line in every game, and it's hard to make a case for an underdog right now.
Yeah, I mean, things can easily swing back in a Game 2 in a lot of these series, and the interesting thing, like you said, is the amount of scoring that we've seen. I mean, a lot of that tracks back to how many power plays we've seen early on. I mean, you look at the Toronto-Ottawa game, that had a ton of power play scoring. It's kind of people assume there aren't penalties called in the playoffs. There are. It's just that they happen in the first few games of the first round, and then as you get deeper into the series and you get to Game 7, then obviously the power play opportunities dry up. But it's an interesting trend to watch, because if we do get a number of power plays early on in the first round, this season was I think, as far as power play efficiency goes, the best power play season we've had in the NHL since the late 1980s. So power plays are cranking. The scoring, has come on special teams for a lot of these teams that are in the playoffs. And so if we do see the penalties continuing to being called and power play opportunities early on, then we might continue to see this spike in scoring.
Great job, Greg. I loved your preview. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to you soon.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer, ESPN.com. Good job there, and strong on the Oilers. Very good.
Almost laughed at me. I was like, relax. I'm just asking the question.
All right. Yeah.
No, he was strong.
It could be different. Kings fans are hoping that's the case,
yep.
But they're very popular. So he has the same pick He's sticking with Dallas because he
got to be a man of character.
Yeah, but so Tampa, Colorado, but his pick in a rematch, which Dennis Bernstein had as well, 2022, I think it was. So that's a lot of. Dennis Bernstein says Tampa in 5.
Yeah,
that they take out Florida no problem. That's a hot take, considering it's a pick'em series. Very good. NFL Draft, one of the few betting events where research beats reputation. VSiN Pro helps you cash in. Get VSiN Pro access through August 1st, just $59. A full summer of sharp betting insights at half the regular price. Every best bet, every host, every guest, the real-time betting splits from DK and Circa, the 24/7 video access from draft to the Derby and beyond. Every sport, every edge, one low price. Sign up now, VSiN.com/subscribe. VSiN.com/subscribe. Kings $1.30 tonight. 5.5 the total at DraftKings. Coming up next, I don't want to overreact, but it was a wild weekend on and off the field and the ice and the courts. We'll get to that coming up with our best reactions on VSiN. Follow the Money, the Sports Betting Network.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We're back on Follow the Money. Paulie Howard, Jonathan Von Tobel. Let's go out to the Garden. Game 2 tonight. Knicks 6.5. 220.5 the total against Detroit. Adjusted series price. The Knicks are minus 650 now. And Brian Mahoney at Brian C. Mahoney on X. He's on the Progressive Guest Line, covered the NBA for the Associated Press. You've been doing this for over 20 years, my friend. Thanks for the time, as always. But it was so loud during that 21-0 run. Is that a top 3 moment in terms of I can't even have a conversation with the person next to me?
Yeah, as far as the way that was shaken, that was right up there with last year in the playoffs. Dante DiVincenzo hit a 3 against Philadelphia to win that game. And then maybe Carmelo Anthony's first game here back in whatever it was, 2011. As far as, when they talk about the Garden being like no place else, that was the kind of moment where you can understand why they say it.
Wow. I mean, that's just for everything to go wrong like that, and even how the quarter started, it was just bizarre where it's turnover, basket, Payne's hitting threes, Brunson and one, another leak out offensive rebound lay-in. It was. I mean, that's not supposed to happen in the playoffs.
No, not at all. And then Detroit had played so well for 3 quarters to be up by 8. The Garden really was not loud at all at that point in time. You could tell fans were nervous, and then they get a 5-second violation or start a quarter. That should never happen. And then they get a shot clock violation. So 2 possessions, don't get a shot off, and then you know what? It changes quickly. The Payne had an unbelievable stretch. Obviously, Brunson, he looked like he was hurt before that. He played great all of a sudden. So, Detroit kind of kicked away a few minutes and then didn't recover.
So what did Detroit do to have that 8-point lead late in that game? They were playing well, but what were they doing that were bothering the Knicks?
Well, I thought Tobias Harris had a great first half. He didn't play well beyond there, but 22 in the first half. That the Knicks kind of, I think that was the matchup they felt comfortable really not being too concerned about. They, obviously they focused their whole defense on Cade Cunningham, let someone else beat him, and he did great for 3 quarters. They battled fairly well on the boards. They didn't turn it over a lot early on. It was just all of a sudden, during that stretch, turning over a lot and making some mistakes. If they clean that up, I think they feel very comfortable about the way they played the other, 42 minutes.
What did you think before the series started and the fact that the Knicks were such a big favorite?
I didn't agree with them being such an overwhelming favorite. I picked them to win, obviously, but, the way obviously Malik Beasley shot the ball here to 2 wins at the Garden, I think he was 13 of 18. That stuff matters, when you come in here and you want to say a team is new. Well, when they had the success they had, it's a little different. I understand that is the playoffs, but the bottom line is it's still a place where you're comfortable in. Tim Hardaway Jr. obviously was a Knick. He played well the other night too. You're not going to shut down Cunningham. He's too good a player. So, I thought this would be a 6-game series. I think Detroit is certainly worthy of being here, and I think other than a few minutes they proved that.
This has nothing to do with the current group, and Bickerstaff's done a great job, but Are they asked about the 15? They've won a playoff game since 2008. I can't believe it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was such a terrible year last year, and really a few bad years. Not too much, because they brought in some veteran guys who I think handle a lot of the media and do the talking, and they weren't a part of last year. But Cunningham obviously was, and I think they kind of handle it well. I think they took their lumps last year, and they feel very comfortable under Bickerstaff now that they're a totally changed organization.
So is it let's focus on the first 3 quarters and Detroit can keep it close again, or that's the real team we saw in the fourth quarter and the Knicks will win by more than 7 tonight?
I think Detroit keeps it close. Like I say, I really was impressed by the way they handled pretty much everything. And the Knicks, we know who they are. I don't think they're as good as they looked during that run. I think, so yeah, I think they'll win the game probably, but I think it's a close one. I feel that way.
Karl-Anthony Towns, only one made three-pointer, Brian, in the first game. What do we expect from him this time around? I feel like the way Detroit was playing defensively, he could do a little bit more from beyond the arc, no?
I think you're exactly right. I thought that during the game. He looked like he was going inside more. Detroit kind of forced him away from the line, which a lot of teams kind of do, which is weird when you're talking about a center, but obviously he feels more comfortable on the outside. We'll see. I think part of it will determine whether the Knicks they played Mitchell Robinson with Towns a lot during that game, more than we saw in the regular season. If they do that, maybe that frees him up to be outside more and he'll get a few more shots, but certainly it wasn't as many as I think they wanted him to take. The Knicks wanted him to take.
All the money, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Brian Mahoney, our guest, covers the NBA for the Associated Press. Game 2 tonight, the Garden, Knicks 7 and 220.5 the total. So there were big expectations coming into this season. You gave up all those picks to get Bridges, then you make the Cat trade as well. What if they either lose to the Pistons or they get blown out by Boston? What's Tibbs' status?
There's a lot of noise around here that he would be in trouble if they are not competitive against Boston or if they go out in the first round. It makes I have a hard time understanding why that'd be the case. Obviously, when you look at what they were the previous 15 years before he got here versus what they are now. But I also understand, look, if someone says maybe this is as far as we can go, we made our win now moves and we didn't get closer to winning, we got to make a change on the bench. I mean, those things happen all the time in sports. I get it. It's just I would have a hard time understanding, why you would look at him as the problem.
Do you think they could be competitive against Boston, or it'll be more of what transpired during the regular season? It depends. I think if Boston shoots the ball the way they can, they just, they get too much separation. But the Knicks, the last regular season game, I think the last one they played that went to overtime, the Knicks really wanted that game, and they almost got it. So I do think they showed the first 3 games, they're better than they played against Boston. But whether they can actually be competitive in a 7-game series, I don't know. You look at the 3 results, those first 3 results, and certainly Boston, I think, feels really comfortable with that matchup. Yep.
Right, has it calmed down out there? Because we mentioned how loud it was in the building, but reading some of the discourse, it sounded like Knicks fans were actually nervous about this series against the Pistons, and I can't imagine they were feeling great when they were down 8 in the fourth quarter.
No, and it's funny, if you look at some of the videos that, online afterward, the fans are in the streets, oh my God, we had it all along and all that. No, it did not feel that way. There was a lot of nerves. I think, like I say, the Pistons won here twice in the regular season. They were winning most of the game the other night. I think they do have the respect of the New York basketball community here.
All right. We did this earlier, but covering the league a long time, I want to know some of your thoughts. Do you think the Bucks are finished?
It all depends on what Lillard has when he gets back in here, but certainly Indiana looks way more comfortable than they need to think that's going to turn around. They looked really good against them.
How about the Rockets?
I just don't know if they score enough.
Yep.
You know, it's just, if the game stays close, obviously you got the all-time great finisher and a guy like Curry. So I think the Warriors think they're comfortable. Obviously, if Houston can score better than they did the other night, then maybe that changes. But if it's that kind of game again, yeah, the Warriors will win that series.
Okay. J.J. Redick, we were, quote, surprised by Minnesota's physicality. How about Minnesota blowing out the Lakers?
I mean, that was the one that raised everyone's eyes. I mean, I think Minnesota's really good, obviously. Did I think they were good enough to go into L.A. and blow them out? No. But they had a great finish to the regular season. Their guys are healthy, and, that's a team that's kind of built for the playoffs with the physicality they do have, with obviously Gobert and Randall and Reed and Edwards. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. That could be a really intriguing series, obviously.
All right, my friend. Enjoy the game. Thanks for a few minutes. Catch up soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
There you go. Brian Mahoney covers the NBA for the Associated Press on the Progressive Guest Line, and it was loud and an incredible 21-0 run. I've never seen that before either. The 5-second violation to start the fourth quarter.
I mean, like the team completely fell apart. It was really weird watching that happen.
Yep.
Look, should they have won the game? That remains to be seen. But at least as somebody, if you were catching the points with Detroit, you had to feel a little jaded after watching that collapse. Up by 8, covering the entire way. And then completely letting go of the rope like that.
I think that's outrageous to fire him if it doesn't go well against Boston. But I know what they're going to do.
No.
They're going to say we went all in. And after the year we had last year, and then we traded for Cat and Bridges, and then we can't even compete against Boston.
Right.
They might do something drastic.
I'm with you. The grass isn't always greener. Who are you going to bring? I mean, what are you going to go get? I mean, the obvious replacement would be Michael Malone. Right, ties to the area, all that kind of stuff. Go out there and be a hard ass in New York and maybe try to get this team to perform at a higher level on defense. But I hardly look at this team and say everything that has failed this Knicks team lies at the feet of Thibodeau.
Yes. And Bridges only had 8 points in game 1, too. Want to know where the money's really going? Unlike other sources, our splits come straight from Circa and DraftKings, giving you insight into where the sharp action's landing. Circa takes huge bets from pro bettors. See the percentage of bets versus percentage of handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. People love it. They go crazy for the betting splits. Get it? Summer special, $59 until August 1st, VSiN.com/subscribe. I was way off on this Jurassic Park thing. I can't believe it. Von Tobel has the box office numbers up next, and you won't believe what Adam Schefter said today as we get back to more props and NFL draft talk on VSiN Follow the Money, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, live from downtown Las Vegas, circalasvegas.com.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.